17, you jumped into Sherco. Feel good at it at the first back into a Sherco jumping off and your Huskies, or did it take a while to, every bike's got their own little tweaks and everything, everything out there. So did you feel comfortable right off the bat on the Sherco?
Yes and no. When I first got on the Sherco, I tested a 300 two-stroke and four-stroke, and I noticed everywhere I tried to hit a rut or a turn, I would end up hitting the rut and then turning way inside. Like the thing was carving out of ruts to the inside. And so I thought, this bike turns phenomenally. The suspension didn't feel bad out of the box. It was, at that time, it was on WP stuff. And we did some massaging, try to figure it out. The 302 stroke, the Huskies I was riding, we pumped them up a lot. I can't tell you why we would do that, but we did. I was just addicted to torque. So I got on the Sherco. We weren't trying as hard to fiddle with stuff, but that earlier Sherco, I will say that the latest model of Shercos run very strong compared to 17. They did a lot of development in the last 4 years to make the bikes run very healthy. That first year on the Sherco, I was never comfortable because I'd lost all my confidence riding the 1415 chassis Husky. There's something about the frame on those bikes that I didn't get along with, and it's more of a hindsight thing. But for example, in one season on the Air Group Husky, we did like 26 different shock revals.
Wow.
And just couldn't get happy. Over the last 2 years, Sherco changed to KYB suspension. They've updated the motors. They've lost some weight, and I am very pleased with the bike. I can go to a local enduro, regional hare scrambles, and that's pretty much what I do. And then any hard enduro I can get to, and it's been a great machine.
So you're on a 300, right?
Yep.
Don't they make like a factory model? And forgive me if I forget. Is it like the SE or something? I was trying to look at their website. Do you ride that model or the base model and then kind of do your improvements from there? Or how does that work?
I ride the factory model because everything that comes on the bike is very practical and useful. And why get they have the racing model as their entry level model, and it comes with the WP components, and it doesn't come with, I don't think it comes with a cooling fan and a couple of the other goodies that the factory edition comes with. So I go with the factory. You don't need to do much more to it to go race it. I add the Bulletproof Designs radiator guards just because I think it's silly to risk your investment of a new bike without, putting some good stuff on it. But
and you got it comes with a cooling fan and all that.
They come with a cooling fan, a cool catch tank, solid rotors, lights, skid plate. They got a hydraulic clutch, KYB suspension, Brembo brakes. It's top notch equipment. So
you really like those KYB forks and shock?
I do. I've been on WP suspension my entire life on the big bikes, and with the exception of the gas, had some, I think, Marzocchis and a Oberlin shock for a moment, but ever since 2006, that's a long time I've been on WP. So to get on the KYBs, and mind you, I never had factory suspension when I was racing professionally for the, factory Husaberg and Husqvarna. They never got me on the cone valve stuff. Nobody stepped up with the good stuff, and I was too cheap to buy it. So, just the factory bone stock KYB stuff, I think blows away the WP stuff. And when it's valved right, it's great. It's really good. It's got a plush progressive feel that just seems like it seamlessly transitions into, solid bottoming resistance with set up right. The WP stuff always seemed to have just, I don't know. It's like their dynamic was wrong. It would either be too soft or too stiff or have a harsh spot. So.
Well, I just picked up a 300 Erzberg from Championship last fall. And apparently COVID has wreaked havoc on my weight because I wrote it down at the Wayne National Forest last fall, and apparently I was using every bit of the suspension travel. So I got fork springs ordered from Championship.
Reset that sag.
Yeah, the sag. I didn't get the sag. You know, it was like, there was no sag adjustment. It was the bike was like, you need to upgrade the suspension there, big boy. You know, but anyway, so that's really cool. I think the misnomer, and you could probably touch on this, Nick, is, as an amateur racer or a fan, I think there's this misnomer or perception issue that, well, Nick's on unbelievable equipment because he's sponsored by Sherco or he's a factory rider from Sherco, when in fact you just dispelled that, because essentially you're on a stock bike with parts that anybody can get. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I don't know if teams have taken advantage of me for my whole career, where they just thought, let's just leave them with the stock stuff, or perhaps it's all just a big facade and a big joke. I mean, it seems like all of my peers have always been on factory trick suspension, and I was always just at that threshold where I've got stock stuff. If somebody under me had trick stuff, they or their dad bought it. I don't know how good it is, but I work with what comes on the bike when you go buy it. And the cool thing about racing hard enduro is, I guess it doesn't matter what you're doing, but particularly with hard enduro, that the speeds are low, and it's more up to the rider and what the rider can do than with the bike. I think if I were racing GNCC, you better have some really good suspension, because you're going so fast and sustain just taking a beating. You can't do that on stock suspension or ill setup, a poor setup.